that I'm 35 playing a 21-year-old.
He was making a movie called Stab. He was stabbed.
Just one question. Do you think it's over, Sydney? Do you?
Whoa, whoa, don't shoot. I'm only 17.
What's your favorite scary movie? My life.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Franchise Deep Dive with Jake and Josh, the podcast where we dive deep into all of your favorite and least favorite movie franchises. I'm Jake.
And I'm Josh. I hope you liked my little move in there. I had to do a little emotion.
It was the cherry on top of that perfect sundae that is that impression. So, excellent job.
Thanks.
But yes, guys, if you did not look at the title of today's episode here on episode 42, yes, we're 42 episodes in to this podcast. We are continuing the road to Scream 7, capping off the quote-unquote original Scream trilogy with Scream 3 from the year 2000, which is crazy in hindsight that this movie is now 26 years old. Really, really throwing me for a loop there.
Yeah.
Does that make, oh my gosh, the original Scream is 30 years old now.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Ooh, are they going to do a re-release? I might see it.
They better.
I'll definitely see it.
Dude, oh my gosh, I would see that 3 times over. I think the only Scream films that I've gotten to see in theaters are 5 and 6, so yeah.
Oh, you didn't see 4?
Oh my gosh. No, dude, it was like 2011. I don't even think I was in high school then.
Oh, you weren't old enough. Wow.
No. I think we rented it from like 48 Hours video rental store or something.
Oh, actually, I was accompanied by a parent. I saw it with a group of friends, and Ross's dad came with us, I think. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Wow.
I'm jealous. I don't have movie loving parents like that. I mean, I've talked on this podcast. My dad likes movies, certain movies, but I wouldn't say he's like a lover of movies. But either way,
my parents love movies. I just don't really agree with their taste. 80% of the time. 80 to 90.
Does anybody really agree with their parents' taste on many things?
No.
I know that Sydney Prescott did not agree with her mother on her taste in men. That is for sure. But Scream 3, again, released in 2000. It is directed by Wes Craven. Budget of $40 million. Box office, $161.8 million. And a Rotten Tomatoes score of a series low 47%. Not great.
It's that low?
It is that low. Yeah. I think it has like 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb. 180,000 ratings. Good for you, Scream 3. Good for you.
And we got a new writer on our hands, too.
We do. Kevin Williamson, get out of here, buddy. Sorry. You gone. You fired. We replace him with one Aaron Kruger. And before we get into...
really, like, is that... There had to have some pull in the decision-making, right?
Dude, I didn't watch any trailers from Scream 3. I kind of wish I had, but I really hope that they played up that element in the marketing. Like, oh, we have a guy with the last name Kruger writing a Wes Craven movie. Come on. It's right there. But yeah, I had something. It's gone. So let's just get into our history with this movie. We've talked about our kind of history watching the first 2 Scream movies. So I'm just curious what your relationship is with this one, if you have one at all. I know how I reacted the first time watching it, which is very different from how I feel now, but I'm just curious if you remember like what your first reaction to watching Scream 3 was.
It was around the same time I saw 2, because I think last episode I said I haven't seen it for the first time until high school. I I think I used to appreciate this one more. It was kind of like the same story with 2. I think that I just thought it was better than it was as I got like when I was younger. So, but I do remember liking it a lot when I first saw it. But yeah, not too much history before that. I don't want to spoil too much though before we get into it. So, I have to refrain from some of my thoughts on the movie at the time.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think I'm in a very similar boat. It's one that I've sort of soured on over the years, and nobody who's listening to this will know this, but I used to do a podcast called Scared Speechless, which was a horror podcast that I did with my friend Aaron, and we actually did a Scream 3 episode where we brought on Josh. So this is the second time in podcast format where we are talking about Scream 3. And I actually re-listened to that episode, but before I get to that, yeah, in a very similar boat with my history. I liked it a lot more when I watched it when I was a lot younger. And actually, one of the big elements of this movie that I don't like was something that I initially really loved about this film. So it's just interesting to see how that kind of has changed over the years. And
I wonder if it's the same thing as me.
Without lending my hand too much, it has to deal with the killer and their motives. As to, I really liked that initially, and again, just over the years, just kind of my opinion has soured on that. But
I'm with you.
Yeah. In terms of trivia, before we, I guess, get into the full-on movie discussion, we're going to try something a little different this episode, guys. You know, a little experimentation. We're going to try to really do our best to talk about the film chronologically. So, you know, give us a little bit of room to work that in and see how we do with that. And if we don't like it, we can always just abandon it. But in terms of trivia, I think, you know, the biggest thing is the film initially, and I've seen a couple different things saying different things in terms of like if this actually happened or not. But the word on the street is, and by street I mean just the internet, is that the original plan for Scream 3 was to return to Woodsboro, and it was going to be another group of high school teenagers, very similar to the original film. And the big reveal at the end is that all of the young teenagers would have been a part of a cult, that being the cult of Stu. And Stu Mocker would have been revealed to have been alive this whole time, and he would have been making the phone calls, orchestrating all of the killings from prison. This plot would go on to then be used in a show that Kevin Williamson would go on to write. I believe it was called The Following, and I think it was on Netflix. It has like 2 or 3 seasons, but yeah, so that's the big thing. And then what killed that is the Columbine shooting. The Columbine shooting happened, and supposedly it caused them to panic and then do last-minute rewrites, changing pretty much everything, who the killer is, the setting, the location, all of that stuff, and inevitably giving us the Scream film, the Scream 3 that we would get. But it doesn't really stop there, as the more you read about this film, the more you realize that there was a ton of behind-the-scenes issues. Everything seemed kind of rushed, very similar to Scream 2, where you had those issues with the supposed script leaks. Scream 3 was kind of plagued with that as well. They were constantly rewriting. They were handing in new scripts as they were filming, to the point where it got so ridiculous that there is literally a line in the movie that one of the characters says, complaining about the amounts of rewrites that they are being given. So very, very meta, very self-referential. And that's one prominent feature of Scream 3, is that it is by far and away the most meta, and for me at least, most humor comedy focused Scream film in the series. But that's kind of the big... And the other thing, too, is that just Neve Campbell had a bunch of scheduling issues. She filmed all of her scenes over the course of 2 weeks. And if you kind of flash back to when we were talking about Scream 1, I had said that final sequence, scene 118, the last essentially 42 minutes of that movie, known as scene 118, took 3 weeks alone to film. So when you kind of compare that to this film, and you're like, oh, the main character of this franchise did all of her shit in 2 weeks. it starts to make sense why a lot of the scenes feel rushed, a lot of the characters feel underdeveloped, and all of that stuff. So that's what I have for trivia. Not sure if you read anything else that you found interesting or behind the scenes trivia that is worth talking about. But
Yeah, what is it with all the like stories of Scream scripts, rewrites that never feel consistent? I always hear like different rumors, different like people say, "Oh, this was the original ending." Then people say, "Oh no, that was not actually true." I never know what to believe with this series. It's like all over the place. I'm trying to remember. There was definitely a couple things I thought I read that'll probably come to me as we talk about the movie. But yeah, no, I nothing on the top of my head. So we can, if we're ready to get into it, I can try to remember as we go.
no, sure.
I will say this. Like, Jake will be happy to hear this. To my comment on Scream 1, as I watch these movies, it's making me appreciate more from Scream 1 because I have more issues as these movies go with one of my small nitpicks. It wasn't a crazy one, but about the red herrings. And I can't wait to talk about them in this one and possibly other ones down the line.
I think that 3 out of the ones that we've watched so far, 3 might go the hardest with trying to steer you as the viewer in very, very specific directions when it comes to like characters and red herrings. But
there's some that really bother me, really piss me off, but I'll wait till we get to them chronologically.
Yeah. So we're not going to go scene by scene. If any of you guys listen to something like the horror show or anything, we're not going to do it like that, where we literally talk about every scene, every story beat, like beat by beat. We're just going to try to talk about the story in the film in somewhat of a chronological order. So in previous episodes, there's times where we have jumped to the end quickly and then kind of doubled back and have gone back. So we're just going to try to go at least somewhat in a cohesive way this episode. Starting off with the opening scene, something that has at this point become a staple of the Scream franchise. And we didn't say where this film is really set. I might have mentioned it at the end of the last episode, but we started in a small town in Northern California. We then go in the second film to a college, Windsor College in Ohio. We are back to California, but this film takes place in Hollywood, the City of Angels, baby. That's Hollywood, right? The City of Angels. I'm not, or is that Vegas?
I think so.
Okay.
No. I think it's Hollywood.
And which city doesn't sleep? Is that New York or Seattle?
It's New York.
But then it's sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely New York, but doesn't Vegas have something like that too? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's the City of Sinners or something. I don't know. But yeah, so getting back to Scream 3. Yeah, we start out with the opening scene, which, like I had just mentioned, is kind of a pivotal part of these Scream movies. You always kind of look forward to the opening scene. In the first film, you have the iconic Casey Becker, Drew Barrymore death, spilling her boyfriend's guts all out on the patio, stringing her up from a tree, super iconic, caught everybody off guard. Scream 2, they try to attempt to do it again with Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett Smith. They don't quite hit or stick the landing as we had highlighted in the previous episode, but a couple solid moments. So let me ask you, how do you feel about the opening of Scream 3, which, guys, we didn't say it yet, but spoilers for this entire film. Even if we are going to try to talk about it chronologically, we may at some points jump ahead a little bit. So spoilers for Scream 3 and 1 and 2. If you haven't seen those films, go back, watch those. They're on Paramount Plus. Come back, listen to this episode, or watch this episode and see our lovely faces. But Scream 3 starts with Cotton Weary. Liev Schreiber is back and playing Cotton Weary, looking a little bit older, 3 years removed from Scream 2. He's living it up now in LA, living the Hollywood lifestyle, has a beautiful girlfriend, a nice house it seems like, and has his own talk show, 100% Cotton, where he connects victims with the people who assaulted them, which is insane. But either way, Cotton's on the highway. He gets these calls from what seems like a flirtatious woman. Obviously, at some point in that conversation, switches to Ghostface. Ghostface is like, hey, I'm gonna kill your girlfriend if you don't get here, and if you don't tell me where Sidney Prescott is. So right off the bat, you know that Ghostface is looking for Sidney. You know that Sidney's kind of hiding from the world, and you realize that Scream 2 really worked out for Cotton, as he's now super successful. But Cotton rushes back to his apartment, gets there, his girlfriend seems fine, but she's been tricked because of a very specific piece of technology that exists in this movie, and is probably one of the worst parts of the film, if you ask me. And judging by Josh's reaction, I'd say he probably tends to agree.
Yeah. So,
But she's been tricked,
yeah.
and either way, gets into a fight with Ghostface. Ghostface arrives, kills Cotton's girlfriend, gets into an altercation with Cotton, and unfortunately, Liev Schreiber's time in the Scream universe has come to an end as Cotton Weary is stabbed and killed. But yeah, what do you think of it?
Of the opening or the voice changer? Let's start with the opening.
I guess let's start with the opening, and then we can kind of segue into the voice changer, because that will be a problem throughout the rest of the film. But yeah.
So I know with 2, I talked about how much I really enjoyed the build up to it. We had some problems as it got near the end of the opening. I still like Scream 2's opening more than this. There's nothing here that's grabbing me ever in this opening scene. It's just kind of it's not it doesn't feel that bad, but it doesn't feel like there's anything memorable to it. Besides maybe Creed getting blasted in the house. That's kind of fun. But I don't know. And maybe some of it traces to the charm of not having, or the charm of Roger Jackson and them not utilizing him. And it just feels like, you're kind of wanting what kind of brings Scream there's enjoyment to that fun voice. But now we have all these voices. I'm questioning how there's how this technology even exists, where he's getting these voices from, whatever. I think it's kind of a cheap way to subvert our direction where we're looking. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's nice if it's nice for Ghostface. It's a cool piece of technology, but it just doesn't work for me in this world. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a problem with having the. I do like killing off Cotton, not because I don't like Cotton, but I don't I like it. Feels like one where it's you're not expecting this character who kind of just got elevated in the second one to die off. So I do kind of like that, but. Yeah, I don't know if it was a problem with the setting or what, but I also hate that this guy's on the phone with him and he's threatening to kill his girlfriend. I love that he's just it doesn't seem like he's taking it that seriously, because he's just saying, fuck you, I'm going to do this to you, do that. And he's wrong answer, then hangs up. And then Khan immediately goes, wait. Which I find hilarious. But
overall,
I don't care for it. It's fine. It's a fine opening. It's not awful, but it doesn't do anything for me.
I think what's interesting about this opening is that it's kind of breaking away from what we have seen from Scream 1 and 2, where in Scream 1 and 2, the whole kind of hook of those openings is we're going to try to take a really famous celebrity who we used in the marketing. They're on the poster. We didn't talk about it in Scream 2, but Jada Pinkett Smith is on the poster of that movie. So obviously if you see that poster going into the film, you're thinking that she's going to be more of a primary character. Obviously, her and Omar Epps bite it in that opening. But so I think it's interesting that Scream 3 is trying to break away from the whole, hey, we're going to kill a famous celebrity that you think is going to be more prominent in this film, and kind of switching to, we're going to kill a character that in the Scream universe matters. So I think that's kind of interesting. And I think in the sense that, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's a fine opening. I think it probably, in the way that it plays it really safe by not doing anything too outlandish or too crazy. I mean, it is killing a character that you've come to know, and I don't want to say love, but you're right, he does have that bit of development in that second film. But I think in the way that it does play it safe, it does kind of come across as not very memorable. Because you do leave off Scream 2 with thinking that Cotton is going to, if you do make more films, play a more prominent role. So I guess in that sense, it is a nice subversion. But yeah, and this goes back to a piece of trivia that I don't think we really tackled, which was, this has got to be the most monitored and neutered Scream film in the series in terms of like violence and gore.
Yeah.
And that has to do with the Weinsteins and the MPAA and just like the violence in cinema conversation that was going on at the time. But this is always kind of what I point to when talking about Scream with other Scream fans who do love this film in a way that I just don't. I still enjoy it, but there's people who really do love this movie. And my always go-to argument is that it just doesn't a lot of the times feel like a horror film. And I think right from the opening scene, not that it's not trying to be a horror film, it is still trying to be scary and intense, but because of the lack of violence, because of the lack of intensity in the scene, it just doesn't really work on a horror level. And I think that will persist throughout the rest of the runtime, which is just really unfortunate.
I wonder if they did something that aligned with the theme of like Hollywood, something like maybe behind the scenes stuff as their opening. I don't know, like something on like at a stage, and it would make sense, you know, as we talk about this film, like how that even would work. I think that could have been cool, something like that. But yeah, like you said, it just felt a little too safe. There's nothing that feels special about this opening, so.
I think a scene that we will get to a little bit later, but with Jenny McCarthy, I think that actually potentially could have worked better as the opening scene, because that gives you what
something like that.
Yeah, you have her hiding in the closet of Ghostface costumes, her picking up like the rubber knife, all of that little fun stuff that it would have at least been, I think, a more memorable way to open. But I think they were really banking on people caring about Cotton in a way that I just don't. Like, it's not that like you said, it's not that we dislike Cotton. It's just, it's not like he's like a fan favorite character.
Right.
At
he's
least
someone
I don't
that I think you could just kill off in the movie and have it still be a shock. But you don't need to reserve the opening for him. He kind of just got some light on him in the last movie. So yeah, that could have been cool if they did a scene like that.
Yeah. So, you know, after that, obviously you get, you know, as Cotton is being stabbed, you get the title drop, which is always fun. And then you kind of cut to a Hollywood set where we are meeting. Actually, I think you have a quick scene first of Gail giving a press conference. Not a press conference. She's giving like some speech at a college or something.
God.
And you have an issue with that scene?
No, I have an issue with her haircut, as we all do.
As we, I think, talked about in the Scream 2 episode. And this is not just us picking on Courtney Cox in this film. Her haircut in this film is commonly known as one of the worst haircuts in horror movie history. Maybe in just movies, period. Yeah. Only being rivaled by Justin Hartnett in Halloween H2O. Those two are...
Yeah, and I mean, I think he has that same haircut or similar or equally bad one in The Faculty also. Same actor.
I think you're right.
It's really bad.
Did I say Justin Hartnett? It's Josh Hartnett, right?
I think you said Josh.
Did I say it right? Okay. I don't know.
We'll find out when we watch this back.
Well, yeah, when I edit this, we'll see.
The fun thing here was that I still had my notes from when I was on with Jake's old podcast, and I have my first note of those notes was movie loses a full star for Courtney's haircut. It's no issue with her. It would look bad on anyone, Courtney. I swear.
So I guess David Arquette took responsibility for it because they were obviously dating at the time. And I guess he had told her something like to get Betty Page bangs. And I don't know if you know what Betty Page bangs look like, but it's like a very specific look where the bangs are almost, it's like a very curly bang, and like the back of her hair is like kind of curly and poofy, and it kind of works. The issue with Courtney Cox is it's not at all like Betty Page bangs, and it's like instead of like a curly set of bangs, it is like the most jaggedly cut set of bangs ever, and the back of her hair is straightened too, so you don't get that like poofy old Hollywood look.
Was this a joke?
It just does not.
Was it a joke?
Maybe he just was like mad at her at the time and was like trying to get revenge or something.
They're so high too. They're right here. It's not like it's on the middle. If it was on the middle, maybe. Yeah. And the horrible thing is that I loved her bangs in the first one. Loved them. Yeah. And then you go, it looks like a joke. I can't really take it seriously. I don't know How did
Her
they
hair-
greenlight this?
Her hair in the first movie is probably more in line with Betty Page
Yes.
bangs than what she has in this movie. So
And most certainly, yeah, we could talk for an hour about this haircut. I don't want to.
yeah, no, we don't
It really
have
upsets
to.
me.
So moving on from that, yeah, obviously you have, we are introduced to Gail. She's giving some sort of speech. It looks like at a university or something. She's asked a question about whether or not if they all want to succeed, if they should be as cutthroat as she is, and she says yes. She is then met by Detective Mark Kincaid, played by Patrick Dempsey, Mr. McDreamy himself.
Man.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's just
As much as I love Nev Campbell, Patrick Dempsey might be the best looking person in this series. Like in this movie specifically, he has the nicest head of hair. He is like the opposite of Courtney Cox in this. Like his hair is almost too good. Like in the complete other end of the spectrum. But
I also I want to give a shout out to his partner. I don't know his real name, but I'm just going to call him Ben Stiller because he reminds me of Ben Stiller throughout the entire film, more so in the profile.
Very Stiller-esque. And
Yeah.
he has one of my favorite lines coming up, and we can get to that in a second.
I know.
But yeah, basically Mark Kincaid, he meets Gail after her little speech, her little whatever, and tells her that Cotton Weary has been stabbed, and not only that, but the killer left a picture at the crime scene, and it is a picture of one young Maureen Prescott. Yes, Sidney Prescott's mother. So now we have a little bit of a mystery set up as the killer is leaving photos of Sidney Prescott's mother at the crime scene. So that's very interesting. Then we meet our new cast of suspects, quote unquote, and I did pull up the Scream 3 cast. I'm just going to run through all of them really quickly because it just is a nice segue. But either way, you have Nev Campbell returning as Sidney Prescott, Courtney Cox as Gail Weathers, David Arquette as Dewey Riley, and those are our returning characters. Obviously, we already talked about Liev Schreiber returning as Cotton Weary. But in terms of the new characters, you have Parker Posey as Jennifer, Patrick Dempsey, like we mentioned, as Detective Mark Kincaid, Scott Foley as the director of Stab 3, Roman Bridger, Jenny McCarthy as Sarah Darling, Heather Matarazzo as Martha Meeks, Lance Henriksen as John Milton, Emily Mortimer as Angelina Tyler, and one of my favorite additions to the Scream universe, Patrick Warburton as Stephen Stone. But yes, most of those new cast members I mentioned are in this upcoming scene. You are on the set of Stab 3, Return to Woodsboro. Our characters are having a little conversation after the death of Cotton. It's just sort of like that kind of, first time you're meeting all the suspects scene in a Scream movie. We get one in every single one of these films. And this is where you're starting to try to, you yourself as the viewer, piece together who you think might be the killer or killers in this movie. And actually, I think I left one off because the person I did. Dion Richmond plays Tyson Fox, who is essentially in the Stab universe going to be the Randy replacement, since Randy obviously died in Scream 2 and subsequently in Stab 2 in that universe. But then you get one of my favorite lines in this movie, and it is when Roman is freaking out about possibly the movie Stab 3 being shut down because of Cotton Weary's murder, because you find out that Cotton was going to make a cameo in Stab 3. And Lance Henriksen, who again plays the producer, John Milton, he turns to Patrick Dempsey and his partner as they're making their way through the set, and he says, "Detectives, there's no reason to believe that this killing should affect the movie's production, right?" And Patrick Dempsey's partner, in the most blunt, direct, monotone manner, says, "He was making a movie called Stab. He was stabbed." And it is just, I don't do it justice there.
Yeah, his
in the line
delivery is I don't know how
good.
I don't even know how he does it, because it's not even like he delivers it so theatrically. He delivers it so normally and just
that's
normal.
It's very monotone. It's very.
He was making a movie
and
called
I remember
Stabbed. He was stabbed.
Now, have you shifted? Because when I re-listened to that old horror podcast episode, you said that you don't like his character, whereas I think he's one of the funniest parts of this movie.
Wallace, the partner?
Yeah, the partner.
Oh,
I think he's funny.
yeah. No, I'm not. If I said I don't like him, it might be because he doesn't do anything for me. But he is funny.
He is.
But he's
yeah.
maybe just in that scene. I don't remember laughing at him too much more after that. So I don't think he does anything for me. But
Yeah.
well, I mean, but I enjoyed liking how much he looks like Ben Stiller to me in the movie. So I think I was really grabbing onto that this time around.
You find your own sense of enjoyment.
Yeah, but that line is funny.
Yeah. So before we get to the scene that I really want to talk about, which is the Sarah Darling murder scene, I just wanted to bring up. Here we go again. I had a thought, and then it is just escaping me.
Must be that snow. It's that snow behind you coming down.
It's the fact that I went to bed way too late playing Fallout 4. Screw it. Let's just skip to that scene then, because we. I remember what I wanted to bring up. I think it's a little bit funny that one of the characters says something like, "We're gonna be fine," or "We're gonna be okay," and one of the other characters, one of the other stab actors, I think it's either Tyson or Tom, who has the script in their hand, and they go, page 15, Sarah Darling says the exact same thing that she just said. So it's just like leaning back into what we were talking about at the beginning about how this is like the most meta, most self-aware Scream movie. But yeah, so we move on from that. We get Sarah Darling arriving to the production set of Stab 3, and she is supposed to be meeting up with Roman Bridger to run lines because she received a call from him. She's on the phone with Roman. Obviously, we know it's not Roman, and it switches to Ghostface's voice, and then we have a whole chase scene. I think this scene is actually really fun. It's not the best kill in terms of like effects or brutality, but the overall funness of what they do with this scene, I think it works for me.
I just wish it was longer, because I think you had I think it was going well, and it ends very quickly. It's not even the fact that it's not a good kill. It's a very like abrupt kill. It's like weirdly framed, I think, when she like goes through the window. But I don't know. Like then it just ends, and I'm like, oh, okay. I thought it would it just started like ramping up the tension, and it just I don't know. I think it ends too abruptly, where I'm like disappointed because I was liking the scene. Like kind of running through the halls of the studio. I had a little note here that I just said, man, he got so lucky. All those rooms, and he was really banking on her going into the room that he was hiding with all the other props on like the clothesline of Ghostface. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a really like nicely done scene until it just ends. So like that kind of ruins it for me. And yeah, the fact that the kill isn't special or fun doesn't help. But I know that's studio interference, can't really help that. But it will affect your movie, sadly.
Yeah. I think it does affect this scene, and it's interesting because I actually don't have an issue with the length of the scene. I just have an issue with how it ends. I just wish that the kill was a little more memorable.
There's a couple other scenes. One coming up soon, I think. It's when Sydney gets her first call from Ghostface. That one ends very quickly too. I don't know if you thought that as you were watching it. Let me see. He's pretending to be one of the victims that are calling her line, and then he's doing a little bit of talking, like saying turn on the news. And she sees that Stab 3 is canceled, and then she just asks her if she thinks that it's over yet, or if, I don't know, something like that. And she just looks outside, and it ends. I'm like, oh, like I don't remember ending that quickly, but I don't know. I kind of felt the same way with this scene. So maybe that's just an issue with like pacing throughout this movie. Like it seems like some scenes just kind of like end abruptly. I don't know if that's rushing her when you were talking about how her scenes were kind of crammed, and that's why it feels like off with the rest of the film. That kind of felt off to me.
Yeah, that's interesting because amongst the problems that I do have with this film, usually script and character issues, the pacing is actually one that I don't have an issue with. I actually think that is one of the elements where Scream 3 almost called it Stab. Where Scream 3, I think, is a little bit better in terms of filmmaking than Scream 2, is just in, like, I think it moves at a much quicker pace than
It
Scream
does.
2.
I
There's a lot
agree.
there's a lot of lulls and moments in Scream 2 that I feel like just really kind of slow the movie down and slow the momentum down. Whereas I feel like Scream 3, nowhere near to the level of Scream 1, but it moves at a quick enough pace. Enough is happening. There's enough of a mystery that I think it's working in scene in terms of like scenes coming, being cut too short or being dragged out too long. I didn't personally notice too much of that. Maybe a scene later on where the characters are in a house that will a couple minutes later no longer be a house. Maybe that scene goes on for a little bit too long, and the kind of aftermath of that scene and how all of that plays out. But yeah, I don't know. Didn't have
Maybe
too
it
many
moves too
issues with the
rapid for
pacing
me.
in this.
I never feel bored with it.
That is a
that's the thing.
criticism. Yeah,
So-
that is. Yeah.
But I will say it does. I never notice it dragging. So at least I never feel bored with it. But
Yeah.
I do feel it being rushed sometimes in some of those scenes. But it's fine.
That's fair.
At least
No.
it doesn't take away from the fun I have with it.
Yeah. I think on an enjoyment level, this just surpasses the second film in a lot of ways. But yeah, so you already kind of brought it up. So let's jump to that, which is we check in on Sydney Prescott, and looking still as gorgeous as ever. 2000s Neve Campbell, just next level beauty.
I could like her a little bit more in this one than the second. Maybe not, but like she looks very similar to that she does in the second one. Maybe because her hair is a tad longer. I don't know.
It is a little bit longer in this
but I
one.
do.
Yeah,
I think I kind of like her a little bit more in this one. I don't know why.
She looks great. I love the little added detail that she's wearing the necklace of the Greek letters that Derek gave her in Scream 2. I think that's
I noticed
nice.
that this time. I don't think I noticed.
Oh,
that
really?
Before.
Yeah. The only reason I noticed it a couple of watches ago is because in I forget why I noticed it, actually. No, because she uses it as a weapon at the end of Scream 2. That's what she I think she swipes Mickey in the eye with it, which I don't think we really brought up in that. But yeah, I love that they bring that back. Just a nice little production design detail. They don't call attention to it, which I think is really cool. I think if a movie like Scream 3 were made nowadays with all of like the nostalgia bait and member berries, there'd be like a very specific line of dialogue, or like they would like do like a very specific insert shot of the necklace just to like hone in on it. But it's just in there. It's not called attention to, so I really like that. But yeah, we check in with Sydney. She is now living a very secluded life. We see her talking to her father, Neil Prescott, who, for being a very behind the scenes prominent character in this franchise, really has very few scenes, but he has this dialogue with Sydney, and it essentially boils down to just like, hey, you can't like run from your fears. You can't just hide from the world. And Sydney, at this point, still suffering from a lot of PTSD. Obviously, she's been attacked by psycho killers twice in the last couple of years. That's going to do a lot of damage on someone's mental psyche. But she has this response that I think is very interesting and a good starting place for her character, which is just, psychos can't kill what they can't find. And I think that's a very interesting place to start her character, because at the beginning of Scream 2, she's only gone through this once. And what happens in Scream 1 is enough to traumatize any person for years to come. But she seems pretty well adjusted at the beginning of Scream 2. And then all of that shit happens again. So obviously she's a lot more traumatized and fucked up in Scream 3. And you get a very good sense of that. You get a couple of scenes with her living in seclusion. You see that she has this job as this over-the-phone anonymous helpline person who obviously talks to people who need someone to talk to and all of that stuff. So I think that's an interesting spot to start a character too, with her profession, where she's helping people, even if it is anonymous. It's a cool starting place for her character. And a nice, again, kind of similar to the first film, nice little setup and payoff. When she takes the phone call, it shows her kind of her phone setup, and it says it has like the two lines, her work line and her home line, and it shows that it's the work line. You start to see some of that PTSD and trauma kind of seep through as she has this nightmare sequence where you get another part of this movie that I am not a big fan of, and that is ghost vision Maureen Prescott as Sydney starts having these visions of her dead mother coming to her and saying that it's all Sydney's fault and that Sydney is just like her, which surface
creepy.
level. See, here's the thing. It's creepy at first.
Yeah.
Before Maureen starts talking. She is creepy when she first appears because you kind of see her through Sydney's window in her living room, and it's like this like nice big open window, and you see Maureen walking towards her. She's all dressed in white. They obviously put this makeup on her to look very like ghostly and ghastly, and it's creepy. The music is good. And then they ruin it by having Maureen start talking to Sydney, and she starts going, Sydney. It's very like, it's like what you would see in like an episodes of like Goosebumps. Like it's almost like very childlike horror.
Yeah. I think the two scariest parts, well, like in that scene, is when she's just like creeping up in the field, and then when Sydney looks like at the window, and then it cuts to the window, and you just see her looking in. It's scary at that part. And then I agree, when she starts talking, it gets goofy.
Yeah, it's following the Scream 2 method, where this film at times has something going for it, and then it severely like cuts its own legs out from underneath it. But yeah, so obviously that's where Sydney is at. Sydney is living in hiding and just trying to stay away from all of the garbage, but somehow Ghostface does get Sydney's home phone number, so he or she knows where Sydney is, and that's where you get that payoff from the setup earlier with her phone setup, as she gets a call and the voice sounds a little familiar to Sydney, and it takes her a second to kind of pick up on who it sounds like, but it's Sydney's mom. The Ghostface is using Sydney's mom's voice to torment her, and then you get another close-up insert shot of the phone setup, and it has switched, and she realizes that it's not her work line, that it is her home line, cluing her into the fact that Ghostface does know her location now.
So here's my biggest problem with the voice changer.
You wanna? Oh, okay. Sorry. Continue.
No. Here's like, how does he get her voice? You know, like I have a question of like, how does he get everyone's voice? Whatever. Maybe the technology is you can like get an audio clip and then it just like,
yeah, you know,
translates it. Where is he getting this very like specific voice? Like, I'm sure this is like when she's when she's older. I don't know. Like,
I do have an answer for you.
Oh, tell me. Because I'm curious.
So in the climax of the film, when Sydney is kind of tracing her way through the house, she does walk into like a screening room, and there is old home footage of Maureen.
How old is it? Like,
it looked like maybe it looked like like it looked like from maybe when Sydney was like younger.
Okay.
So that's the only explanation I can get. What I thought you were going to ask is, how did Ghostface get her location? Which I had to look up because it was very unclear in this movie.
Beats my ass. Why don't you? Let me know. I don't know.
So supposedly Ghostface was able to get access to Dewey's phone at one point during one of the early incidents in the film. He was able to somehow get his hands on it, and that's how he got Sydney's location. Yeah. So that's fine, I guess. But yeah, let's jump ahead a little bit.
Your favorite scene, maybe?
To the house scene?
Yeah. Is that where we are in the plot?
That's where we are in the plot, buddy. So yes, we jump to what I consider to be maybe the most ridiculous, I'm going to say sequence, because it is a sequence of scenes that is maybe some of the worst in the entire Scream franchise. And again, guys, we don't hate this movie. I know we both enjoy it. We both have fun with it. But this is always my go-to when I'm talking about why this film is worse than the others. And so we get to Jennifer's house. We're at Jennifer's house, and this is after Sarah Darling has been killed. And I love Parker Posey in this film. Unironically, Parker Posey as Jennifer is my favorite part in the film. I don't know if we really said it, but she is playing Gail in the Stab movies. And so you get a fun little kind of dynamic and banter with real Gale and fake Gale. And at one point, they become like team up detectives and are trying to solve this crime together, which I think is utterly hilarious. But either way, we get to her house. Dewey is her like emotional support bodyguard or whatever, in a sense, and Patrick Warburton as Stephen Stone is her actual bodyguard. And Dewey goes to her house and is followed by Gale, so they both arrive. And Dewey gets inside, and Parker Posey is just hamming it up as much as possible, chewing the scenery, going balls to the walls, having this whole monologue about how she quit cigarettes and how whoever made her smoke this is gonna pay, and she just throws this full-on temper tantrum. But yeah, anyway, you get all of the movie at this point has been kaputzed. It is put in the dirt. Stab 3 is now not in production anymore after the murder of Sarah Darling. And and then you get this whole sequence where Ghostface is faxing the script to our group of characters who is at the house. I think it's Emily Mortimer, who plays Angela. It's Tom, who is Dewey in the Stab movies. Dewey, Gale, Jennifer, and Stephen Stone. But oh fuck, I completely forgot. Sorry, I'm all over the place with this sequence. Before Ghostface starts faxing the script, because one of the unmentioned elements of this film is that apparently Ghostface in this is killing people in the order that they die in the script. Sounds like a cool premise, right, Josh? Sounds like a cool little mystery that you could unravel.
Sure does.
Except for the
similar to Scream 2 with the names.
Yeah, very similar. Except for the fact that in this movie there's, and I quote, 6 different versions of the script. So which one could the killer have read? That's so fucking stupid.
Oh,
why are you even introducing that element into the script if it doesn't fucking matter? Oh my god. If there's 6 different versions of the script, it does not fucking matter.
Well, so you can't follow along. So it's not easy to protect the people that are next.
But why? Okay. Sure. Sure. I'm not even going to try to argue. Sure. Fine. Moving on. We get a scene where Stephen Stone, he goes out and he's in Dewey's trailer, because we find out Dewey lives outside of Jennifer's house in a trailer because he's her emotional support, which is funny because I used to think that they were dating until Josh told me otherwise. I used to think that Jennifer and Dewey were like a couple, which they are not. But either way, we get to the trailer, and Stephen Stone gets a phone call, and it sounds like Dewey. So in this scene, Patrick Warburton thinks he's talking to Dewey and makes a very, very rude comment about how
fucked up.
Tatum died in the first movie. Dewey's little baby sister died in the first movie. Again, he thinks he's talking to the actual Dewey, but when he makes this comment, Dewey's voice changes. It's obviously Ghostface. Ghostface busts out, kills Stephen Stone. This death is actually pretty solid. This death is, I think, fine. Well, it starts out fine, and then it gets ridiculous, as does everything in this movie. But Stephen Stone gets stabbed, yada, yada. We cut back inside the house, and, they're all kind of arguing. I think at this point is when we have already gotten 2 pictures of Maureen Prescott. Dewey and Gale put 2 and 2 together. They realize that one of the photos was taken in the exact same spot as one of Jennifer's headshots. They're starting to put all the pieces together. They realize that Maureen was on the same studio lot that Stab 3 is being shot on, or was being shot on. And this is when they are interrupted by Stephen Stone, who managed to somehow, after being stabbed multiple times, walk from the trailer about 30 to 40 feet to get to the front door to tell them to run. And he falls like a cartoon character, flat on his face. They all freak out. They're all running around, and there's a bunch of chaos. And this is where we get to the dumbest shit of all time, but especially in this movie. And the killer starts faxing over the version of the script that the killings are following, supposedly. They run outside. It seems like they're in the home stretch. It seems like they can just run away. And the way that the scene is shot, it's pretty well lit outside. There's a lot of lights. They could read the script outside. but they hear that another page is being faxed to them. And to which Gale has the best line, because one of the characters says, "I have to know what happens." And Gale has a great response. She says, "Wait for the movie." That's a good line. And then Tom, who is, again, playing Dewey in the Stab movies, runs back inside, grabs the script, but all the lights are off in the house. The power's been cut. And so what does he do? He takes the script into another room and opens his little Zippo lighter, flicks it open, starts reading the script, and it says, "Mercy will be given to the one who smells the gas." And as he says that, the entire fucking house explodes. And this is 2000. That was not CG. They fully just blew up a fucking house. And it looks good. It's a good explosion.
How much gas, how much time does gas have to be running to cause that kind of explosion?
Couldn't tell you, buddy. I could not.
Because I mean, you would smell that. It would. I would assume it'd have to be. That's a big house. It's pretty big.
It's a huge house.
And every inch of that house gets exploded at like the same time.
Oh, you would have expected that they had secretly hid dynamite sticks throughout the fucking house and set them off in a chain reaction.
Now I'm gonna try to play devil's advocate. I don't know if I did this before.
You didn't.
Okay, so when do you draw the line of meta, like them just poking fun at, since the theme is Hollywood, could you not just say that was them knowing that they were being ridiculous and having that big explosion to kind of resemble those big budget Hollywood movies like Michael Bay and stuff like that? That was kind of at his start, I guess, right? He kind of
he did Bad
Boys and Armageddon and stuff. Yeah. But is that just a nod to the ridiculousness of Hollywood's big budget movies?
If this was a series that was just parodying movies, then I would give that to you. Mm-hmm. But this series has specifically been a parody of horror films, and I don't think that they were smart enough in 3 to be this is a parody of Hollywood. It's still very much trying to parody horror films and satirize horror films. So I guess I can see that devil's advocate argument of oh, it's so over the top. But to me, it just pulls me right out of the fucking movie. It just takes me out immediately.
Just because
it's funny.
I've seen people just do that with every Scream movie. Every time you mention something that is ridiculous, they kind of just default to the, it's supposed to be satire on this that happens all the time. And I'm like, when does that just become an excuse?
No,
So, and because I've seen one for Scream 4 also, and I don't think we had an issue with 1 or 2 where it's where that's an excuse for something that happens in those. But yeah, I mean, I don't like it. I don't like the scene, but I'm just trying to see is that is that something people say to excuse how ridiculous that scene is?
No, and listen, maybe I might just be a hypocrite because I know there was a couple times during our Scream 1 discussion where you would criticize something and I would use the satire as a defense. But for me, it's usually just, again, when it's satirizing horror and tropes of horror, I think it works a lot better than trying to if it make the argument that it's satirizing Hollywood movies. But yeah,
but you also don't think they were smart enough to even do that.
No, I don't think they were smart enough, because I don't think that this movie was very well planned or put together. And I think obviously there was, we mentioned, pre-production issues that really hampered their ability to make a great film. But at the end of the day, like you said, it still does hurt the film. Whether it's the filmmaker's fault or not is kind of, a mute point, because it still is the movie that I'm watching and the movie that I'm talking about. So it's still going to be criticized for those elements. And
right.
Yeah, so one thing, so right after this, this is when, after the house explodes, we get some even goofier stuff with, Dewey falls down a fucking hill. They all, tumble down this hill. You get, a literal, choosing between two women scene with Dewey, where he's being called to, to help out from Gale in one direction and Jennifer in another, and obviously he goes towards Gale. So That's fun. They have to bring in Gail. Oh, Gail gets a little bit of her revenge in this movie. Not revenge, but she gets to punch somebody in this movie because when Jennifer catches up to them, she punches Dewey in the face, and then Gail punches her in the face. And that's fun, I guess. But yeah, so this is also too what's leaning into the next scene that I want to talk about. But Dewey shoots Ghostface multiple times. He even says when he is able to get to Gail, because Gail is about to get got, and that's when Dewey shoots Ghostface from the top of the hill. And then he falls down the hill like a fucking cartoon character. Or Three Stooges, whichever you want. But he gets to her, and he even says, like, I swear I hit him. And this makes me want to jump to the scene that is what I was kind of talking about in Scream 1, where I said, if you're going to do this scene, or no, it was last episode when we were talking Scream 2. If you're going to do this scene in Scream 3, what is even the point of killing Randy in Scream 2? But essentially, they're walking through the studio lot, and at this point, Sydney has joined the story. Sydney has flown to Hollywood. She meets up with, Gail, Dewey, and Detective Kincaid and all of that stuff there to help with the investigation and everything. So that's good. But... Oh, fuck. Where was I going with that?
You're all over the place, Jake.
Okay.
Okay.
I know, because the Randy scene. So Gail is with everyone. They're walking through the studio lot. They're about to go into this studio lot trailer, and then they are surprised, a little jump scare, with Heather Matarazzo, who is playing Randy's little sister, Martha Meeks. And she says, guys, I have something to show you. And also, this is where you get my opening quote, because the detectives pull a gun on her, and her response is, don't shoot, I'm only 17. Which, I'm sorry to tell you this, Heather, cops have no issue shooting 17-year-olds. And that's just a fact of life. They've done so many a times. Either way, we get this whole scene where the, archetypal, cliche Scream scene where you're getting the rules of this specific horror movie. So obviously Scream 1, rules of surviving a horror movie. Scream 2, the rules of a sequel. Scream 3, the end of a trilogy. And I should have wrote down the rules, but from what I remember, it's that the killer is superhuman, which is what I wanted to talk about, because that lends to what Dewey was saying when he said he shot Ghostface. He swears he shot him, but Randy says that the killer is superhuman. You basically have to cryogenically freeze their head and chop it off to kill them. The motives always go back to the past. Whatever you think you know about the past, you don't. Your past is not done with you, yada, yada, yada. And it's a rather ominous scene, but it starts out kind of comedic because it has Randy talking about how he, he gave up his virginity to a girl in the video store, which is really weird because his sister is in the room watching this video with them, and I'm sure she does not want to hear the story about her brother losing his virginity. But then you get like these weird comedic beats where Dewey is like responding to Randy, and Randy is responding to Dewey in real time, even though it's a pre-recorded video.
I want to see a cut of this movie where they don't go along with how Randy thought that they would respond to his comments. I just want to see them just watch it without talking, and he's like saying this stuff like, "All right, I didn't say anything, Randy. Keep going with the important stuff." But that it was like I get it. It's fun, but like is it needed in this video? I don't know. Maybe they're just keeping a little comedy to Randy. But
Either way, I think the scene is very weird because, like I said, it's very tonally inconsistent. And like what people have argued against me with Scream 3 in the past is like, oh, every Scream has comedy, so why are you faulting Scream 3? And it's to me, it's just the balance. Scream, and I think this is your words from the past when we've discussed these movies, is you're used to Scream being horror first with sprinklings of comedy throughout. And I think that's very much so what Scream 1 does. I think Scream 2 does it, not as good, but still does that. 3 is the only one in the franchise where I feel like they're taking way too many opportunities to throw in a joke or try to be clever or try to be funny instead of letting the humor come from the characters' personalities, which is what I feel the first two Screams did. There wasn't a lot of written jokes in the first two Scream movies, at least from what I can remember. Whereas this film, it felt like deliberately they were writing scenes to be funny. And I think it just doesn't come across really well. But
could that be a play on Hollywood and their need to
Yeah, you got me, Josh. It's just satire. It's the greatest satire of all time. But so there's essentially two more scenes that I really want to talk about. Again, I don't think we need to go beat by beat. We're already going longer than I expected, but the two scenes that I really want to highlight, and then obviously, like, if I missed anything that you want to talk about, obviously we can get to that. But the first big scene that I want to talk about is a scene that I actually think is excellent, and supposedly Wes Craven paid out of pocket to film this scene. It was not in the original script, and it is the scene where Sydney is walking through the set of her old house. It is like the flashback scene, quote unquote, that we hear from, Dewey says it's the Maureen Prescott flashback scene. And so you have Sydney walking through this Hollywood set, and you have her. It's the part that I don't like is when she gets to her room, you start hearing audio of her and Billy having the conversation from the first movie, and then she even like out loud by herself in the room says one of the lines from the original. I don't need
Which
that.
is weird because, like, we talked about the necklace and how they don't do, like, the obvious, show the necklace. They just, if you know, you know. So why didn't they continue that with this? Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Again, that's dumbing down your audience. It's just not trusting your audience remembers events of the first one. Just have her look around the room. It's completely mirrored. So, like, I get it. So, yeah.
And the thing is, I think, like, and I'm going to highlight it when we talk about 4, because I think there's a really good scene of Neve Campbell just using, her face to act without having to deliver dialogue to convey something in that scene. And I think Neve Campbell is a strong enough actress that you could have had her convey this sort of PTSD and remembering the past without having those lines of dialogues reiterated and having her say it out loud. I think there is a better, more subtle way to handle that scene. But after that, I think the scene is great. Essentially, she gets attacked by Ghostface. He starts pulling some mind games on her. He's wearing the body bag that her mother was covered in, and it's covered in blood. And I know, I don't know if it was you specifically, but I know some people have had issues with that in the past where they're like, well, how did they know that she's seeing visions of her mother? And I don't think that is the implication. I think the implication isn't that he knows that she's having these visions of her mother, but the implication is just that he knows that obviously this would affect her. Like,
I think
just
I did
putting
think
the
about
body
that,
bag on.
And I was like asking myself, and I was just like, well, he doesn't have to know that to be taunting her with like just her like a body bag over him. Like,
exactly.
She's having those visions, I think, in relation to him like introducing her mother to her. So like the visions I think are just because of his taunting initially. I think that's how the order goes. So yeah, I kind of take that. I kind of rescind that comment because he doesn't have to know that she's having visions.
No.
I think it just lines up.
Yeah. And when we had talked about it, I also was with you on that side of the argument where I was like, it doesn't make any sense. How would he know? Like, why is this Ghostface like the most omnipotent Ghostface of all time?
Yeah.
Which he still is. He still is, with the house exploding and shit. But like, yeah, so that kind of criticism I've kind of thrown out the window. So I guess it's a little better in that kind of respect. But either way, the scene kind of plays out, and you have this really great chase scene through the set. And what I love is that you get like the little closet door trick from the first movie. You kind of get that re-implemented. And I also love too, and it's always what I've loved about this scene, is that the house layout is almost the exact same. And I think you highlighted it in the past that it's even shot the same way. The chase scene, like when Ghostface is chasing her up the stairs and everything, it hits the same angle, which is such great attention to detail from Wes Craven. But also what I love is she's running around this house as if it is her house because she's familiar with the layout, obviously, but it's still a set. So at one point she runs through a door expecting it just to be a hallway, and there's nothing on the other side. And so she, like, you know, she runs through the door, and she, you know, obviously Sidney Prescott, quick thinking, always quick on her feet. She figures out a way that she can kind of trick Ghostface. And when he opens the door, she pulls him, throwing him through the doorway onto the bed. When she looks back, Ghostface is gone. It's a great scene. I think it's a great chase scene. I think it's an awesome way to re-implement some elements from the first Scream movie. I think it's a cool way to just have a chase scene play out in like a clever, creative kind of way. So I just wanted to highlight that scene. But
yeah, I wonder if it's normal for studios to, and like sets to have their tables of snacks just out. I can't wait to come back the next day and that shit is stale. Those bowls of chips when they like go outside and they crash into the table, all that food is just out, and I'm like, oh, this set is closed down. That pissed me off.
I was gonna say it's been closed at this point in the story. The Stab 3 production has been shut down. So, but either way, so that was the second to last scene, and then obviously the last thing I want to talk about is the final climax of the movie, the third act of this movie. So you get this party scene set up, kind of like the original. Roman Bridger is having a birthday party, and you find this out in a smaller scene that I'll just briefly mention because it is kind of important to the plot, and it is that you find out through Carrie Fisher, fun fact, Leia Solo herself appears in the movie. Carrie Fisher shows up working at this like sort of studio archives building when Jennifer and Gail are doing their investigative duties, and they find out that Sidney's mother was an actress for 2 years before she met Sid's father in Woodsboro, and she had worked on 3 horror films, all of them produced by Lance Henriksen's character, John Milton, the horror producer. And when they go to question him, this is when he mentions Roman's birthday, and Roman's having a birthday party, and so that kind of sets us up for the final act. And this is where I still don't love who the killer is in this movie, and I don't love their motivations. But this is where I start to kind of like just reveal aside, motive aside, I like the Ghostface in this specific sequence because the characters are all here. It's all the remaining living suspects who haven't been killed throughout the movie. A couple of the actors, Dewey and Gale, show up because they get a call from who they think is Sidney. Sounds like Sidney's voice. Obviously, we know the voice changer is prominent in this film. But they go to this house, they go to this party scene, and essentially, I don't want to break it down beat by beat, but they all start going their separate ways, looking through the house because Roman mentions that there was like this old secret hidden screening room. And they go, you know, searching through the house. They kind of split off in pairs, and then all hell breaks loose. You get Roman found dead in a coffin. You get, at one point, Angelina gets stabbed very, like, she's like, you know, right in the stomach. She's thrown around. She gets killed off. And so Ghostface in this movie is like almost the epitome of not giving a fuck kind of Ghostface. Like just going around, not trying to be calculated, not trying to be like smart or clever, and just going around and straight up murdering people, like just attacking people, getting into these brawls, kills Tyson, kills Angelina, and then essentially beats the shit out of Dewey and Gale, but not before the second funniest scene in the movie, which is there's a point where Ghostface is at the bottom of the stairs in this basement.
It's the funniest part to me.
And Gale is down in the basement with him, and she gets a hold of Dewey. She calls Dewey, and Dewey opens the door, tries to shoot at Ghostface, is out of bullets, and Ghostface just looks down at his knife, throws it directly at Dewey's head. You see like the shot of the knife midair, like doing like motions, like going in circles, and Dewey gets hit directly in the forehead with the butt of the knife and then falls down the stairs like a fucking cartoon character, which is a phrase that I've already used and I'm going to use it again. But
well,
this whole
ridiculous.
Ending is
just Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah.
Trap doors everywhere.
Yeah.
I want to just say what annoys me. I'm pretty sure I probably talked about this last episode, but well, I mean, with Scared Speechless, but when Jennifer and Roman are together, she's at the top of the stairs, he goes down. I hate the coffin thing with Roman. I guess we can wait to bring that up. Because
spoiler alert, guys. Roman's the killer. The killer. If
we
you're
did
still
a good job waiting
point,
this long to talk about who it was.
But we're at the climax anyway,
Yeah.
so we might as well. So we don't have to tiptoe around it. There is no two killers in this movie, guys. It is a solo killer, and it is Roman Bridger, the director. And we'll get to his motives in a minute, but continue. Yeah.
I don't like it. It's what I know what you're trying to do. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Rule out Roman. Okay. Now he's dead. See, but how does that work? Is that just like where did he get the prosthetics? This is all he's doing this while she's at the top of the steps, because then Gail comes down, finds him. She's down there hiding. So like she didn't go somewhere else. She was at the top. She was always at the top of the steps, moved down eventually. How long does it take him to do that? She doesn't hear, like, I don't know. Is he like, she must hear, like he must be faking a struggle, but she stays up there. I don't know. It's too, it's too over the top for me. I want to just go back to, is Angelina? Angelina. She pisses me off. That's the worst. She's like one of the worst, maybe the worst red herring so far. Actually, she is the worst red herring so far. It's so in my face. She's just odd. And the bathroom scene, I can't stand. The like creeping up like from the stall, like she raises her feet, a little nod to one, but like for what? And then I don't know. It's too much. It's too like hammering it over my head. Look at this girl. That made me look back at my small critique of one and be like, they're not like that in one. I'm fine with the red herrings in one. These go so like just smacking me left and right in the face. But Angelina's just ridiculous. She's just like awkward. And
so, are you gonna raise your rating for Scream 1 then?
No, it stays where it is, because that was one that didn't lower it. It's just something that like annoyed me.
That's fair.
No,
you did say it was like a nitpick. So, but no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So there in this film, I feel like there's two very heavily fixated on red herrings, and it is Patrick Dempsey as Detective Mark Kincaid and Angelina. They are the two that, in my opinion, they go the hardest on, and I don't think that they would stand out nearly as much if they had went equally as hard on the other characters. But when you're not really given enough with the other members of the supporting cast, like the other cast members in the Stab 3 production, you're not really given enough with them. And I think even John Milton is a pretty big red herring at a certain point in this film, up until Roman gives him the final cut, you know. But yeah, it's the more and more I watch Scream 3, the more Angelina does kind of bother me, and it gets to the point where like I just start to wish that they would have just stuck with the original plan of having her be the second killer, because it would solve a lot of problems that I have in this movie in terms of just how Ghostface is able to do all of this by himself. It's something that is always very easy with other Scream movies, because you can always just kind of point and be like, yeah, well, it makes sense because there's two. And, you know, you can always kind of make an argument, whereas in this film, it's a little bit harder to defend. But yeah, and like you said, they just go so hard on Angelina and just hyper fixating on weird scenes with her.
She dies very quickly after you see Roman. They find Roman, Gail, and Jennifer, and they go upstairs. And this man jumps out of that casket, dresses up, and somehow kills Angelina in that like it's like 30. It's like a minute. It's like 60 seconds. He's too omnipotent. Like in this movie, where I do think a second killer was needed. I like that they were trying to do something different, but he's even more. He's somehow all over the place, even more than two killers would be in the other ones. I mean, he's like everywhere. Yeah,
but I mean, he's by far and away got the highest kill count of any Ghostface, mainly because he did it by himself.
What is the kill count? Do you remember?
He has 9 No
That's
other
it.
other single Ghostface has more
Oh
than
yeah, I
that.
guess it's split. Yeah.
Because it's split, and some
Yeah.
of them, like, you have like a Nancy Loomis character who only really killed Randy, from what I understand from like mega Scream fans who have tried to like piece together.
Yeah.
And there's no accurate way unless like the person takes credit for who they killed. So like in 2 you have Nancy Loomis admitting that she killed Randy, much to, I know, your chagrin, because I know you had an issue with how could she pull him into the van that hard, but
Strong
either
as
way,
hell.
yeah. So everybody has pretty much been killed except for Dewey and Gale, who are now tied up, strapped to chairs, and Ghostface gets a hold of Sydney, who is at the police station. She's able to kind of, segue herself off by herself, and she takes the call, and Ghostface really gets to her, not only by having Dewey and Gale and threatening their life, but also kind of intrigues her by like saying, "Don't you really want to know who killed your mom?" And that kind of intrigues her, because obviously a lot of this movie is Sydney's PTSD and her trauma and her fractured relationship with her deceased mother. So that gets her to go, but not before they hone in on Detective Kincaid even harder, because Sydney Prescott, she finds like this whole dossier on her, news files, clippings from news articles, like whole like newspaper clippings about Sydney, all the way going back to the events of Scream 1. And it's in Detective Kincaid's desk. And then, it's just that you got that scene, like that you kind of quoted at the beginning of the episode that we didn't really talk about, but before Kincaid walks away and she gets that phone call from Ghostface. In that scene, that's when you get the, "Detective, what's your favorite scary movie?" "My life." It's like the most ridiculous shit ever. But yeah, so Sydney is on her way to the party. She gets to the party, and the second she gets out there, she sees Tyson, who got a little bit of the Sarah Michelle Gellar treatment, because he was not only stabbed, but he was thrown off a balcony and
Just
was
misses
killed
that
way.
water.
Just misses the water. Actually, he's a couple feet from the water, but either way, Ghostface, not the best arm. Sydney gets there, and I don't want to break down beat by beat, but you have this whole showdown. You have this whole fight scene play out with Sydney and Ghostface, and then let's jump to the reveal. Ghostface and Sydney are able to get into this room by themselves. The doors are locked, and Dewey and Gale, are taking their sweet old time trying to get out of the ropes that they're tied up in. And then you get the reveal that the Ghostface killer in this movie, like we said, is Roman Bridger, director. And the motive that he reveals to Sydney, and this is where I know I disagree with certain Scream fans. I think Josh is with me on this one, but the motives for Roman are that he is, in fact, Sydney's long-lost brother, half-brother, and he is a product of when Maureen was in Hollywood trying to be an actress, and she would go to these sex parties where, according to John Milton, if you made the right impression on a producer, you could get a role in a movie. So that the whole, issue with Hollywood, and when you start to factor in that the Weinsteins produced this movie, it starts to get a
I
little
was
kind of
surprised
weird.
that scene, because I actually like that scene. We didn't talk about the Milton scene when he's
Yeah.
like giving like the history of like Maureen. I like that they kind of poke at the problem in Hollywood, and I'm surprised that it got passed in like the in the screenplay with the Weinsteins behind it, because it's such a clear jab, I think. Well, just in general, maybe not directly at the Weinsteins, because I don't know if that was even, I don't know who knew about that stuff then, but yeah. So I did like that scene.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
The commentary on Hollywood and all that fucked up shit. But yeah, so yeah, that's revealed. I wanted to just a little funny note I had here. I love before he takes the mask off. I actually kind of hate that he does it, but it's funny to me when he just like exposes himself to like show
Yeah.
off that he has a bullet. You don't need to. You could just keep that to yourself. I could just you don't have to show her that you have protection there. Now she's not going to shoot you there if she gets the chance. Just keep that concealed.
We should say this movie has a fundamental flawed understanding of how bulletproof vests work.
Oh, I know.
If you get shot one time, even with a bulletproof vest, you're still probably going to crack or break a rib. Whereas Ghostface in this movie gets shot
Strong
like 15,
as hell, man.
15 fucking times. Oh yeah, that's a thing that people who love Scream 3 and who love Roman as a killer, they always highlight how strong of a killer he is. And I will say, to give credit where credit is due, in terms of like strong Ghostface, he is pretty strong. Like I said, like the whole sequence in this like kind of final act, he's not being calculated. He is just going around the house and fighting
confident
people.
in his strength.
He very much so is. Very much so is.
I do like that they kind of like abide by the rules of a bulletproof vest a little bit with Sydney, because when we were watching it, Lauren was like, okay, she got hit by a bulletproof vest. Why doesn't she like get up? I'm like, oh, Lauren, you know that like hurts. I mean, you can really like get some injury from that. So
if you're watching this movie, I can understand the misunderstanding, because when Roman gets shot, the man eats bullets like it's his fucking job.
He's talking. He's even talking while he's getting shot, and he's just saying, "You can't fucking kill me."
Not only do Sydney and Roman in this film take multiple shots to the chest, even with a bulletproof vest on, though, but their entire fight is brutal. Like, they are beating the fucking shit out of each other for a good few minutes, taking shots to the head, smashing shit over each other's heads, and that's just what I love about Sydney in these movies. And I didn't really highlight it in the second movie, but it is one of my favorite lines in that. But Sydney just always has a dope line in these movies. Like in the first one, I love when she's on the phone and she's doing the Ghostface voice and she's like, guess who called the cops on your sorry fucking ass? And then in the second one, when she's talking to Mickey and he's talking up Billy Loomis, and her response is, you forgot one thing about Billy Loomis. And he goes, what? She says, I fucking killed him. And then in this one, I love her line to Roman, because it's very clear that Roman has a lot of emotional issues and a lot of mommy issues, but he's going on this like whole tirade, and at this point Sydney's just sick of it, so he's just going on and on this long spiel about like his motives and all this shit, and she's like, you know why you kill people? Because you choose to. There's no other reason. And then he like yells fuck you, and then she yells fuck you, and then they just charge at each other and like engage in this like 10-minute long brawl. And I've always had fun with this, but this time around, I don't know why, but I got really like jazzed up when Sydney yells fuck you, and then the music ramps up and they just start fighting. Like, I don't know.
You just got turned on.
It like, no, not even turned on. I just thought it was fun and cool. I was like, this is so dumb and silly, but like this fight scene is like kind of well done. Like
my favorite, like maybe not my favorite, but I actually love, I don't know why I like it.
Yeah.
When she picks up his I and she says, lose something, and he says, found something, and he just fucking shoots her. I love that part so much. I don't really know. I like unironically like that part. It is kind of like, it's fun.
I know. I know this because you said that when we did the first time when we recorded. It's great. I love too when she reveals cool. Okay, so jumping to the end of the fight, they're beating the shit out of each other, and he thinks that he's won. He shoots her, and then he hears Dewey and Gale in the background banging on the door, and when he turns back around, Sydney is gone, and she grabs a huge ice pick from the bar and stabs him, I think like in the back or the shoulder, or
it's like right here. It looks painful.
Yeah, it looks really painful.
Like
but
twice,
she stabs
too.
him, incapacitates him, and then defeats him. And then you get a little bit of a weird kind of moment with Sydney and Roman, where I
can't remember if I mentioned hating that. I don't know if I hate that as much as I used to. If I did,
I hate it.
Do you? I don't know. Like,
I get what they're trying
why.
to. Yeah, I get what they're
Yeah.
trying to go for, which is very much so because this whole movie on a character level is Sydney trying to deal with her past and with what her mother has done, and now the villain of the movie, the antagonist, the Ghostface killer, is somebody who was negatively affected by Maureen Prescott's actions. And that's another thing that I just don't love in this movie is just how they treat Maureen as a character, because you take a character who was known for being promiscuous and having an affair in the first movie, and she had her secrets too. That's already one thing, and it's already wrong enough to cheat. Not that anybody should be killed for it, but it's already wrong enough to cheat. But then you have to add in lines like Roman saying that what they did to her that night, they fucked the slut into her. What they did made her a whore. And then, I do love too. That's when you get because he pulls out John Milton, and John Milton's like, "I'll give you anything you want. Final picture, or full picture, final cut." And then Roman immediately says, "I already have it," and then slits his throat. I think that's actually like a pretty tight line from a killer. But yeah, I mean, I don't love that scene because it very much reminds me of like Halloween 4, where minor spoilers for Halloween 4, I guess, for anyone listening. But at the end of that movie, when like little Jamie Lloyd walks over to Michael, who's been shot a bunch of times, and she like holds his hand or whatever.
Yeah, it's cheesy, but could that be like some commentary on Hollywood that we go?
Josh, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you. I swear to God.
No, because I still don't love it. Because I don't necessarily buy that Sydney going through all of this, finding out that this is the guy that killed your mother and has been trying to kill you and, all this stuff. I get what they're trying to...
we didn't even talk about that.
What?
Continue, sorry. We didn't even say that he is the one who showed Billy the footage of his mom sleeping with... or his dad sleeping with Sydney's mom, and then him also giving Billy the idea to, and I did want to say too, because when I was listening to that episode, by the end of it, we were all under the impression that he convinced Billy to kill everybody else. I've rewatched it. I've done a little bit of research. The implication is that all he did was give Billy the idea to kill Maureen, not everybody else.
Because he does say, I had no idea they were going to do their own movie. It was just to do like get the revenge on
I think
Maureen.
what we got confused by is there is that part of that monologue where he says like, oh, all he needed was a few tips, you know, find somebody to pin it on if you get caught, yada yada. And so I think we all took that as like, oh, like he told him how to get away with these murders, when I think it was just Maureen that he was planning. But so it doesn't hurt Billy and Stu's motivations as much as like I used to think it did.
Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, with the hand holding. I guess I get what they're like. Maybe I don't buy it, but would you have this level of like just pity? Not really like you feel bad for him, but like you just pity that this guy was like mentally, like he had fucked up shit happen to him, not to justify him. So maybe holding the hand kind of like looks like there's like a little justification, which I don't like. I don't know. Hate that no one learns. It's the third film, and I know you wouldn't have a movie if you do, but find another way around it. Even Sydney, when I forget when she shoots Ghostface. Is it in that scene? She pumps like 6 bullets into him.
When she first gets to the house and she's trying to untie Dale and Gooey, then Ghostface busts out and she pops him 6 times. No, I agree.
And it's funny because she's yelling at Dewey to shoot him in the head. All right, hey, Sid, did you do it? No, you didn't. All right. But dude, Dewey's pumping them shits into his chest. Like 10. 8, like,
and he like doesn't stop running. Like, not only does he not fall down and break ribs, but he like keeps running at them.
The bullets make him like take another step. Like they actually help him progress. It's crazy.
It's like Michael Myers, but instead of like the more he kills, the stronger he gets. It's like every time he gets shot, he gets stronger.
Michael Myers gets more affected by bullets than Roman.
He does. He does. Maybe Roman is like superhuman or supernatural.
Yeah, Randy tried to tell us. We didn't listen.
Yeah, I guess we didn't. But either way, that ends it. Josh just kind of mentioned it pretty much. But after Sydney has killed she thinks she has killed Roman. She's talking to Dewey and Gale, and then Roman, because they always come back, busts up, starts running at them. Like Josh said, Dewey pumps a couple bullets in him.
Yeah.
Before Sydney has to advise Dewey to shoot him in the head, to which he does. But yeah, that's kind of how the climax ends, and
Don't you hate
we
the the closing?
huh?
Don't you hate the closing?
Like the actual final scene?
Yeah.
I don't as much this time. It didn't
Okay.
bother me as much this time, but
I'm trying to remember
yeah,
what
we
your
kind
original
of
problem
we go
was.
back to Sydney's house. It's nice. The sun is setting. She seems like she's doing better. She's happier. She's thriving. Dewey proposes to Gale, who says yes. He even says, I know it won't work, but what if we're wrong? So he proposes to Gale. They're getting engaged. That's great. All is well that ends well. Sydney comes inside. Who pops up? Detective Mark Kincaid, who he is such a minor character in this film, even though they do harp on him as a red herring a lot, that we completely forgot to talk about him in the climax of the movie, which he is in a little bit. He does show up at the house. He gets attacked by Ghostface, gets stabbed quite a few times, gets up, goes to fight Ghostface, and then gets knocked out again. So very useless in the final act. But anyway, Mark Kincaid is there. He's in an arm sling and says, "Hey, Sydney, we made some popcorn. We're watching a movie." And she says, "What movie?" And he says, "You'll have to find out."
Yeah.
And she just, says, "Okay." And as she's about to go and watch the movie with Sydney Dewey and Gale Dewey and Mr. Detective Kincaid, she looks back and realizes that her front door is open, and she doesn't close it. And
I get
and
it. Close your goddamn door.
use-
Close your goddamn door.
well, so on like a logical level, I get it. And while we can rip it and poke fun at it, I guess for the character,
No, yeah, I get it.
it does hit. And this was very much so the original planned end to the Scream franchise. This was meant to put a cap on this trilogy, and we were not supposed to get any more Scream movies. Obviously, that did not pan out, as we would go on to get 3 more with another one coming out. But I think it's a nice conclusion. I think it's a nice ending. It's a good send-off to these characters, had it been the actual send-off. But overall, what are our final thoughts on Scream 3?
Fun time. Fun
It's
time.
fun. It's
with
fun.
a lot of its issues.
Yeah. Criticisms aside, goofiness aside, it is still an enjoyable, fun movie. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a very good movie from just like a technical level or a script level, but I think it's still very fun. And somehow, you know what? I'd still probably, we said it last episode, I would probably watch Scream 3 over every Friday the 13th movie as well. Mm-hmm. For all of its quirks and flaws, I still am a sucker for these Scream movies.
We didn't talk about it. Who did you think the two were when you were first watching it? Do you remember who you thought they were?
Right. Who did I think it was when I watched this the first time? I want to say that I was honing in on Angelina and Mark and Detective Kincaid. Yeah, of course I was, because they were the two fucking prime suspects.
Kincaid
I remember
was the one for me.
Because even before they show that dossier that he has on Sydney, he is so adamant and keen throughout the first half of the movie about finding her location and bringing her there. So
I remember watching it for the first time, and when he's like aiming the gun, when he first gets to the scene where they're tied up, and I thought it was Kincaid, and he just like puts the gun up, and I'm like, oh shit, I got it right. It like looks like he's like, it's like his like reveal kind of thing, the way he, I don't know. So I thought it was him, and I'm trying to remember who I thought the second one was. I didn't at first Angela, but I was like, no, it's too obvious. I think I thought maybe Jennifer. I thought it was gonna be like
that would have been a good one.
Yeah. So those were my two. I really thought it was Kincaid. They really got me.
They really lead you. So maybe they did their job, I guess, with Kincaid. So
yeah.
But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed listening or watching this episode. Shall we get on to scores and then get on out of here?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. Well, I'll kick us off. I am going to give Scream 3 a 5.5 out of 10. It has its issues. I definitely think it's a flawed movie, and on a filmmaking level, probably worse than 2. But trying to be objective, I gave it a lower score than 2, but I would watch this over 2. I find more enjoyment in 3 than I do in 2. It's just fun. We didn't mention, but there's a Jay and Silent Bob cameo at one point, which is hilarious and stupid, but that couldn't go without mentioning that. But yeah, 5.5 out of 10.
I'm going to go 5.2 out of 10.
Okay. All right. A little bit lower. I get it. But I think it's so funny because I feel like we were more positive during this discussion on Scream 3 than we were during our Scream 2 discussion, but we gave 2 a higher score. Like, we were pretty positive overall.
I think because this one's
episode.
like universally, I think Scream 2, it's got some of those like higher ratings than 1. We had to be like a little harder on that, I think.
That's fair. We had to knock it down a peg.
Yeah, that's right.
But yes, guys. All right. So 5.5 out of me, 5.2 out of 10 from Josh. So the lowest score that we have given a Scream film in this franchise thus far. Sorry, I just bumped my microphone. Either way, thank you again for thank you again for listening and watching us here on Franchise Deep Dive. 42 episodes in, on the road to Scream 7. We have 3 more Scream movies to talk about, so obviously check us out on the next episode of Franchise Deep Dive, episode 43, where we will be talking about Scream 4, Scriforum. Very excited, but either
I haven't heard that. I liked it.
yeah, Scriforum. It's great. So I'm excited to talk about that. The last film that not only Wes Craven directed for the Scream franchise, but the last film that Wes Craven ever directed before his passing in 2015. So definitely check that out. Stay tuned. We don't post specifically on Tuesdays anymore. We just do 1 episode a week. So make sure if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcast to follow us over there. If you're listening or watching on YouTube on my personal channel, Former Film Student, make sure to subscribe and click the little bell notification button so you do get notified and updated when we do post a new episode. You'll also just get notified when I post new content. We've been posting a lot more, not only these episodes in their full length, but we've been doing a lot of shorts. So if you don't have the time to check out an entire episode, definitely check out the shorts page on our YouTube channel. And I know that Josh recently set up a TikTok, so he can talk about that. But
yeah, guys. So in addition to Instagram, obviously head over there to give us a follow at Franchise Deep Dive. TikTok is up. So also Franchise Deep Dive on both those. Look for the updates, and yeah, it's exciting that we starting to do more shorts now, so you can get a little previews of these episodes. So get engaged there, comment, give us your suggestions. We'll be happy to try to factor them in. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Appreciate you guys listening. This was fun. I'm glad that this series we're not dreading continuing. So very positive for the Scream series that they just don't really make you want to,
I think the last time that we've done a series where I wasn't constantly dreading every new movie that we had to watch was probably Harry Potter. So
that's nuts. Yeah.
Oh, maybe John Wick.
Okay. Yeah.
John Wick was, but I definitely wasn't looking forward to Shrek the Third. That's for damn sure. But all right, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode. Again, we will catch you on the next episode of Franchise Deep Dive. Thank you. Goodbye.
Later, guys.